Step into the darkness with my Patreon. Receive early access to new episodes and exclusive bonus content to keep your nightmares alive.
This is not going to be as easy as taking a pill twice a day,
she says to me as I sit across from her on the couch. I nod my head because that's the response she expects from me. It's the response that's called for in this situation. A solemn nod of the head. The words she speaks are clear. I can hear them and, on some level, understand them. But the fore of my brain is concerned with only one thing: how I look to her. She's probably disgusted, but she hides it well. That's probably something they teach in psychiatry school. How to hide your disgust. How to keep an impassive face even when confronted with the dregs of humanity. Like me. The skin on my face feels loose and bumpy. I sweat a lot, especially around beautiful women. I'm sure there will be a couple of sweat marks on the couch when I get up to leave. My face is oily, but she probably doesn't even notice that. What's a little oil on a face as disgusting as mine? Dr. Goodwin leans toward me over the notebook in her lap, propped on her crossed legs.
Mr. Carson, do you want to try it?
Yes, I mumble, wondering what her husband looks like. He's probably model handsome and muscular.
Okay,
she says, uncrossing her legs to get up. My eyes dart down to her knees, but they don't part enough for me to get a glimpse up her skirt. Then I chastise myself for being such a disgusting person. I'm sure she saw me do it. I bet her skin is crawling. She probably feels uncomfortable. She probably wants to scream and slap me. But she won't, because she's a professional. Or maybe she doesn't want to touch my face, even to slap it. Yeah, that's probably it. Maybe I should get another psychiatrist, a man. I doubt I could find one as ugly as me, but I could find an ugly one. That would make me feel a little better. Dr. Goodwin steps over to her desk and opens a drawer. After a moment, she comes back toward me, stepping close and holding out something in her hand. I take it, seeing that it's a sample pack of 2 triangular purple pills. There are no markings on the underside of the small plastic packaging, no brand name, just a strip of foil I could easily puncture with my fingernail. Dr. Goodwin steps back over and sits down again, keeping her knees together.
Take those as soon as you can,
she tells me, looking at her watch.
I'll go ahead and write you a prescription. You can fill it tomorrow if those 2 help you a little, okay?
What are they supposed to do again? I ask.
They should decrease your anxiety about your looks, but, as I said, I recommend seeing a specialist. Taking it out with him should give you an idea of what changes you may want to make. The pills are designed to help you through the process. Who knows, though? The pills may be enough for you while we continue to work together. Okay, Mr. Carson?
Okay, I say, staring at the pills.
Would you like some water while I write your prescription? You can take them now.
Sure. The doctor stands up again and walks behind her desk. I try not to stare at her butt as she goes, but my willpower has never been great.
Shannon,
she says, pressing the intercom button on her desk phone.
Could you please bring Mr. Carson a cup of water?
Be right in,
Shannon says. I really should get another doctor. Coming to this place gives me anxiety. Not only is Dr. Goodwin a very attractive woman, but so is her receptionist, Shannon. As the doctor writes my prescription, I extract the pills from the packaging. There's a quick knock on the door, and Shannon pokes her head in. She smiles at me on the couch as she walks in. It must be hard to smile at me when she probably wants to grimace. She hands me the little paper cup of water.
There you go, Mr. Carson,
she says. Thank you.
Anything else, doctor?
Shannon asks.
No, thank you. You can leave the door open,
Dr. Goodwin says as she comes around the desk with a piece of paper and a business card. I dump the pills into my mouth and gulp them down with the cold water, then put the paper cup on the coffee table. Grabbing my baseball cap from next to me, I pull it down over my head. It provides me with some manner of comfort when I'm out in public. Then I stand up, glancing down at the couch to see if I've left any sweat marks. Not this time. I guess my shirt and jacket absorbed all my sweat.
Here's the prescription,
The doctor tells me, handing me a slip of paper.
but you can't go to your normal pharmacist for this one, okay? Only one pharmacy carries this pill. I've written down the address for you.
Okay, I say, keeping my eyes fixed on the paper.
And here's the specialist's contact information.
She says, handing me a business card. It says the man's name is Dr. Reginald Massey. There's also an address and a phone number. I thank Dr. Goodwin and head out of the room.
See you Thursday,
She says. Shannon is at her desk, and she smiles at me as I head out. I imagine her and Dr. Goodwin getting together to talk about how hideous I am after I've left the building. It's okay. I don't blame them. I take the bus home. As usual, a few people pity me enough to smile at me. Everyone else ignores me, keeping their eyes down so they don't have to look at me. Getting off the bus near my apartment, I stop at the Indian restaurant Gina likes and order a dinner to go. Then I walk to my apartment building and catch the elevator to the 4th floor. After getting off the elevator, I pull my keys out, finding the right one and getting it ready. Then I head down the hallway, setting the food down in front of Gina's door and knocking on it before hustling down the hall to my own door at the end of the hall. I get the door open quickly and then shut it just as Gina opens hers. I turn and look through the peephole. She rolls her wheelchair out into the hallway, looking at the food first, and then she rolls up to my door.
Thank you, Jared.
She says, waving at my door.
Maybe one day we can eat together.
It's the same thing she says every time, but I know she doesn't mean it. Who could have an appetite with me sitting across from them? My heart thunders as I watch her. Even distorted through the wide-angle peephole, she's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. Dark hair pulled back into a ponytail, stylish glasses, a simple black blouse, and a black skirt over her legs. Somehow, the wheelchair makes her more attractive. I don't know why. Maybe I have some sort of weird fetish, probably. After she picks up the food and rolls back into her apartment, I take off my jacket and shoes. I'm starting to feel something, like a warm buzz in my stomach. It must be the pills Dr. Goodwin gave me. It's nice. As I stand in my entryway, I look down at my arms. Some days they look too thin, others too hairy, and some days they just look disgusting. There's no other way to describe them. But I could put up with my arms if I didn't have this horrible face on my head. That's what I really need. A face that doesn't make people want to puke. Still, as the warm feeling spreads slowly throughout my body, I can actually stand to look at my arms for more than a moment. Excited, I move deeper into my apartment, turning into the bedroom and walking through it to the bathroom. After flipping on the lights, I reach up and grab the corners of the dark blue sheet I leave draped across the mirror. I pull the sheet down slowly. As I glimpse the top half of my face, I cringe away, raising the sheet back up and setting it back over the mirror. Not even the pills can help me. Maybe they haven't fully kicked in yet. Maybe I'll try again in a little while. Right now, I can't stand to look at my hideous face. There are no cars in the parking lot in front of the specialist's office, which I find strange. Looking at the numbers on the building, and then at the numbers on the card Dr. Goodwin gave me, I verify it's the right place. I guess there's a backlot for the employees' cars. I had to walk a good way from the bus stop, forcing myself onward with every step. I don't like meeting new people. I don't like seeing the pity in their eyes when they see me. But if this man can help, if he can even make me somewhere near average looking, it'll all be worth it. The building is 2 stories tall, made of concrete and black glass. It's square, imposing, and utilitarian. As I approach the front door, I see the words etched on the dark glass in white lettering, Reginald M. Massey, M.S. Underneath, The practice's apparent motto reads, "Bringing the real you out." Opening the door, I pass through a lobby area with stairs to the second floor on my left. There's a desk, but it's empty. Then I spot another glass and metal door straight ahead, just past the desk. "Patients enter here," it says. I push through the door, stepping into a musty-smelling waiting area with blue and gray carpet and black metal seats with navy blue cushions. The seats line 3 walls of the square room, all facing a central pillar with 3 TVs on it, each facing 1 row of seats. There's no one else in the sitting room with me, and to the right, next to a closed wooden door, is an opaque sliding window. Underneath the window is a metal shelf with 3 clipboards on it. There's a cup with pens nearby. Each clipboard appears to have paperwork on it. Moving over to the window, I glance up at the one TV I can see. There's a close-up of a single wide green eye staring. It moves slightly left and right. Then it's replaced by a woman's smiling mouth with red lipstick and perfect white teeth. As I turn away, just a little creeped out, the mouth speaks.
"Welcome, Mr. Carson,"
it says from 3 different sets of television speakers. It's a woman's voice, silky smooth.
"Please choose a clipboard and fill out the attached forms. Dr. Massey will be with you as soon as you're done."
I look around for a camera, but I don't see one.
"Okay,"
I say. It takes me about 10 minutes to fill out the paperwork. I can't help but glance up at the television every so often to see if the eye or the strangely arousing mouth has returned. But there's only a static image of a handsome man smiling at a beautiful woman who is draped around his neck. When I'm done, I take the clipboard back up to the little shelf and put it down. When I sit down again, the eye is back on the screen, followed shortly by the mouth.
"Thank you, Mr. Carson. Dr. Massey will be right with you."
"Right," I say. The mouth on the television is soon replaced by a looped video of a handsome man looking into a mirror, smiling as he pokes and prods different sections of his face. He drags a finger along one eyebrow, then pokes gently at his cheek. He pauses, looks himself in the eye, and nods. Then he goes back to it. What the hell is this place? Reaching into my jacket pocket, I grab the bottle of pills I picked up from an equally strange pharmacy on my way over here. Dumping 2 of the pills out, I look at them in the palm of my hand. They're not stamped with numbers or letters or anything, which is strange. At least, I think it's strange. Maybe not all pills are stamped. After all, these are fairly unique. They're purple and triangular. I think about the pharmacy I had to go to. It was in the basement of a decrepit building off 3rd Avenue. There were all sorts of off-brand products hanging on the shelves in the cramped and moist room. Most of the products were covered in dust, evidence they'd been on the shelves for a long time. But it was the other people waiting for their drugs that really left an impression on me. There was a woman who looked as if she'd been in a terrible accident. Her face was deformed, sagging here and there while other parts bulged. She looked up at me with glazed eyes. I think she smiled, but it was hard to tell. A man next to her looked like that Giga Chad meme from the internet. His chin jutted out too far, and his cheekbones were too prominent. It looked as if his lips had been arranged into a permanent smirk. Although his neck was skinny, his clothing bulged with oversized muscles that looked a little too round to be real. I moved past these people to the pharmacist, who was a tall, bald man wearing a lab coat over an expensive-looking dress shirt and tie. He took my prescription slip and checked my ID with an air of impatience.
$300,
he said.
"What?"
I said.
300? What about my insurance? Insurance doesn't cover this medication.
I stood there, wondering what to do. It was more than I'd expected to spend. It wouldn't break me, but still. Then I remembered the way the 2 sample pills had me feel last night.
"You want it or not?"
The pharmacist asked.
"Yes."
I said, pulling out my wallet and giving over my credit card. He ran it quickly.
5 minutes,
he said, handing me back the card without looking me in the face. The only 2 seats were taken, so I wandered, pretending to look at the dusty magazines and products on the shelves. After a few moments, I felt a presence next to me. I looked over to see the blonde woman with the messed up face next to me.
Hi,
She said.
I'm Sandra. What's your name?
I smiled at her, realizing that I didn't feel the same sense of embarrassment about my appearance that I usually did around people.
I'm Jared,
I told her, offering my hand.
Hi, Jared,
She said with a wink.
I haven't seen you here before. First time?
Although we'd already shaken hands, she was still holding gently onto mine, her flesh warm and soft. The touch, combined with my lack of paralyzing anxiety and shame, was electric.
Yes,
I said.
first time here.
Sandra finally let go of my hand. I focused on her eyes, which were bright blue and kind of hazy. Her face didn't seem like a real face at all, but a mishmash of flesh with no real cohesion or uniformity.
You're quite tall.
She said.
I like that in a man.
Thank you, I said. I was just thinking of a compliment to pay her when the pharmacist called out.
Miss Francis. Oh, that's me,
Sandra said, turning away to get her prescription. After she got her little white paper bag, she asked the man for a pen. The guy gave her one with an impatient sigh. She tore a strip off her bag and then bent down and wrote something on it. After she gave the pen back, she walked over to me and handed me the slip of paper. It was her phone number.
Give me a call, Jared,
She said, squeezing my arm. Then she walked off, heading back upstairs to the street. The pharmacist called the Chad guy up, and then it was my turn. When I went back up to street level, I once again started feeling like a hideous freak. I pulled my baseball cap down lower and hurried to the bus stop. As I sit, waiting for Dr. Massey, I pull out Sandra's phone number and look at it. She is not what I would consider an attractive person, but there was something about her, something magnetic. She certainly was confident. She had the swagger of a beautiful woman. I tried to remember her body, but I was so focused on looking her in the eyes so as not to appear to stare at her disfigured face. I didn't pay much attention to anything below her neck. I imagine kissing those deformed lips, and a shiver runs up my spine. Is that why I was comfortable around her? Because I think she's uglier than me? Am I really that shallow? Ugly guys aren't supposed to be shallow. It's a bad combination. Out of the corner of my eye, I see the wooden door open. Glancing up, I see a square-jawed, middle-aged man in a lab coat. He looks like he should be playing a doctor in some soap opera instead of actually being one. His immaculate teeth seem to sparkle as he smiles at me.
Mr. Carson,
He says,
I'm Dr. Massey. How are you today?
I'm good,
What's that? I can't hear you when you mumble.
he says with humor.
I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm just fine.
He tells me, grabbing the clipboard I filled out.
Let's take a walk, shall we?
I follow him through the door, down a hall, and into his office. He sits behind his desk and tells me to take one of the 2 seats in front of it.
So, I've talked with Dr. Goodwin,
He says,
and we're in agreement that surgery could be the thing for you. She told me that you have expressed interest, correct?
yes, I say.
If it helps me look better. I just don't want to be ugly anymore. I can't stand it. I can't even look at myself in the mirror.
Massey nods knowingly.
Yes, well, that's often the case with my patients. But I just want to tell you one thing, Mr. Carson. What's that? Why don't you take your hat off to let me get a good look at you?
He asks. Swallowing, my face burning with shame, I take the hat off and put it on my lap. Massey studies my face for a long moment, his eyes bouncing all over before he says,
Yes, just as I expected. What? Is that what you wanted to tell me?
I ask, my voice raw with emotion.
You just wanted to verify that I'm ugly?
Massey leans forward, the humor falling from his face.
Mr. Carson, you're not ugly. In fact, I would say you're well above average as these things go.
He continues staring at me as I wait for the punchline, but it doesn't come. Suddenly, I go from ashamed to angry.
What the hell kind of place is this? I ask. Is this some kind of experimental therapy or something? You think just telling me I'm not ugly will suddenly make me forget all the 29 years of my life? I know I'm ugly, okay? I know it. I know it better than anyone. So don't fuck around with me, Dr. Massey. If you really are a doctor. And don't give me any of that eye of the beholder crap. That's something ugly people tell themselves when they need to feel better about their miserable lives.
Massey leans back in his chair and steeples his hands, peering at me.
Okay, Mr. Carson. I just had to be sure. And now I am. Sure about what? That this procedure is right for you. But I'm telling you right now, it's not cheap. Your insurance will not cover it. But I can offer you a generous payment plan.
Calming down, I pull my hat back on my head and look at Massey from under the brim.
How does it work? I mean, what are the chances of it working on me? Is it plastic surgery? It's most assuredly not plastic surgery. If that's what you want, I suggest you leave right now because I can't help you. But what I can say is that my procedure has a 95% success rate. If that's not good enough for you, we can talk numbers. If not, then I can't help you. I've already talked to plastic surgeons, I tell him. They can't do what I want. They can't give me a new fucking face. So if you're telling me there's a 95% chance I won't have to be ashamed every time I look in a mirror or go out in public, I'm willing to take that chance. Good,
Massey says, the humor coming back into his voice.
I saw that you took the pills Dr. Goodwin prescribed you while in the waiting room, correct? Yes,
I say, warily. Massey looks at his watch.
Perfect. Let's talk numbers and then get started. What, today?
I ask.
Yes, why not? That's why you're here, isn't it? I can walk out of here changed today?
I ask.
Well, I'll need to hold you until tomorrow, but in 24 hours, you can walk out changed, yes.
I take a deep breath, excitement causing butterflies to flutter in my stomach.
How much does it cost? I'm just going to strap you in,
Massey says to me as I sit in a medical chair in a small, tiled room. There are shelves of equipment behind me, and adjustable metal arms coming out of the ceiling over the chair. One of them has a light on it, but I don't recognize the devices on the ends of the other two. There's a television screen on the wall directly in front of me. I'm dressed in disposable scrubs, and Massey has shaved my head completely. After he straps my arms and legs to the chair, he tucks thick paper towels around my neck and under the back of my head where it sits against the seat cushion. He steps away for a minute and then returns with a syringe. He sticks it into my arm and pushes the plunger.
Here we go, Mr. Carson,
he says with a smile.
You're gonna love the new you.
As my body gets tingly and my thoughts move like molasses, Massey steps to the television and turns it on. Then he moves out of my line of sight and appears a moment later, slipping something over my head. I quickly realize it's a virtual reality headset.
Just remain calm. This is all part of the procedure,
the doctor says. A second later, pictures of my face start appearing, replacing the black in the virtual reality goggles.
I don't want to see this,
I tell him, my voice sounding strange to my ears.
I don't want this.
The pictures of me begin cycling faster and faster, and I realize they've all been taken either in Dr. Goodwin's office or when I took my hat off in Dr. Massey's office. I don't recall seeing any cameras, but there must have been a lot of them because they have my face from nearly every conceivable angle. I feel a strap secured over my forehead, holding my head to the seat.
You're going to feel a slight pressure on your skull,
Massey says.
Don't mind the noise.
The whirring of a drill starts up.
What are you doing?
I cry.
What is that?
Just like he said, I feel intense pressure on the top of my skull, vibrating my head. Regret and terror mingle in my chest as I realize he's drilling into my skull. I scream, the pictures of my face cycling even faster. But as they do, my face begins to change. Slowly, my features morph, melting here, bulging there, wrinkling in another place. It reminds me of that woman's face, Sandra. It's hideous. But the pictures continue, and soon half of them are of my normal face, and half are of the distorted version. The pressure on my skull has changed now, shifting from the outside to the inside. I realize he's no longer drilling. He's doing something else. He's messing around in my brain.
You see, Mr. Carson, it's all about perception,
He says as he works.
Perception is everything. Unfortunately, there also needs to be an ingredient of change as well. I've found that if I change perception but I don't change the face, the procedure isn't permanent. It fades. And we don't want that, do we?
My hands and feet twitch involuntarily. My mouth hangs open, drool dripping down my chin. I no longer have control of my own body. I can't seem to close my eyes. I'm forced to look at the swirling pictures. But a funny thing happens as I watch them. Half of the pictures change, slowly going from hideous to just plain ugly. The pressure in my head changes again, and half the pictures morph again, moving from ugly to average. After another pressure change, I can hardly believe my eyes. Soon, half of the pictures of me are genuinely handsome. I still recognized the other ones, of my normal face, as they are. They're disgusting. The face I've lived with for all of my adult life is hideous. I hate that face. But the other pictures, it's me, but I actually look good. If I could laugh, I would. Pretty soon, the pictures of the old me drop away, and all I'm looking at in the VR space are pictures of my new, handsome face. It's a miracle. I never thought it would be possible. The pressure in my head lets up, and I feel another prick on my arm.
That's the first half done, Mr. Carson,
Massey says.
Now for the second. I'll see you when you wake up.
I feel a sense of sadness settle on me as the drugs take hold and my eyelids close on their own, robbing me of the joyous revelation of my new face.
Mr. Carson?
Dr. Massey's voice cuts through the thick fog of the best dream I've had in a long time. In it, I was finally having dinner with Gina. We were eating her favorite Indian dish. I was making her laugh. Then, after dinner, we delved into some serious conversation. We walked until the sun came up, and as we sat on her balcony, watching the sunrise, we kissed. But it wasn't real. It was just a dream. My face is heavy as I open my eyes and look up at Massey. He smiles down at me, teeth gleaming.
How are you feeling?
Groggy, I say. It's hard to move my mouth. I reach a hand up toward my face, but Massey catches it.
You have bandages on your face, Mr. Carson. Please don't touch them. You can take them off tonight when you get home.
Tonight? I ask, sitting up in the bed. I'm in a windowless room with medical equipment all around. There's an IV line hooked up to my left arm.
It's already been a day? Yes, sir,
he says.
Just about 24 hours. When you're ready, I'll have a car service come to take you home. It's included in the price.
Did it work? I ask. Did you make me handsome?
You'll have to tell me when you take the bandages off tonight. But I'm confident I did. You reacted just as I expected. I think it was a success. But, like I said, you're the judge. Just keep in mind that you still have some healing to do. I'm sending you home with some care instructions and topical ointment to put on your face, okay?
I nod, wincing at the pain in my head. I reach up and feel a bandage on the top of my skull.
Please, Mr. Carson, don't finger your wounds. I've included care instructions for the staples in your head as well. You'll have to return in 2 weeks to have them removed.
Okay, say, getting out of bed. Massey leaves me alone, letting me get dressed. 30 minutes later, I'm back in my apartment. I go back to sleep for a few hours, and when I wake up, I read the care instructions. I feel less groggy now, and I head to the bathroom to take off the bandages. I work slowly, leaving the sheet over the mirror until I'm fully done. When the trash can is full of bloody gauze, I reach up to grab the corners of the sheet, my hands shaking. As I pull it down, I catch a glimpse of my forehead and then my eyes. I freeze, unable to believe what I'm seeing. Then I let the sheet down all the way and look at my new face. Pure joy floods my heart. I smile, even though it hurts. I'm not ugly anymore. In fact, I look good. It's still me, but somehow it's also a brand new face. I don't know how he did it, but he did. Massey's a genius. He's a goddamn genius. And my face isn't even close to being fully healed. It's swollen in places and inflamed, but I can still see how good I look. It will only get better as it heals. A sudden rush of delightful confidence lifts me up. I remember the dream I had, where I was having dinner with Gina. Without so much as putting on my shoes, I march out of my apartment and knock on her door.
Who is it?
She says.
It's Jared.
I say. There's a pause.
Really?
I smile. She sounds pleasantly surprised.
Yes, really.
She unlocks and then opens the door. When she looks up at my face, she jumps in her chair, sucking in a deep breath. It must be a shock to see me so handsome after so many years of seeing the hideous me.
What happened to your face?
She says.
Are you okay?
I can't help but smile.
I'm better than okay.
I tell her.
I'm amazing. And I'd like to have dinner with you this week if you're free.
She's shocked into speechlessness for a moment. I'm sure she can't believe how good I look.
Yeah, I guess so.
She says.
Are you sure you're okay, Jared? You look... I know.
I say, still smiling.
It's amazing, right?
I wait for her to say something, but she just stares at my face.
So, when would be a good night for you?
I ask.
I'll need to check.
She says.
I'll get back to you, okay? Sounds good.
I tell her.
Talk to you soon.
I head back to my apartment, still beaming with confidence. It's amazing. Simply amazing. As the days go by, I feel like I have a new lease on life. I don't hear from Gina, but I assume it's just because my looks are intimidating now. It's wild the effect a really sexy person can have. I know from experience. I can see it in all the faces of the people I pass. Most of them look at me and then quickly avert their eyes, like looking at the sun. It's too much for them. This must be how movie stars feel all the time. Some people, though, just stare at me, eyes wide and mouths open. They can't believe someone so handsome exists, I guess. People no longer smile at me, really. If they do, the smiles are strained. It's because they're in awe, I can tell. I always smile back, though. I remember how it felt when a really pretty woman would give me a genuine smile. It didn't happen very often. Most of the smiles were pitying, but it happened once in a while before I got this new face, and it made me feel fantastic. So I smile. It's the least I can do in return. When I went back to see Dr. Goodwin for our second weekly session, I told her how good I felt. I thanked her, and she reminded me that I needed to keep taking the drugs she prescribed. When I headed out, I asked Shannon on a date. It was cute to see her grow nervous, clearly overwhelmed by the request. But she said it wouldn't be appropriate since I was a patient. I told her I wouldn't be a patient for much longer, and she said she would see when the time came. No big deal, her loss. I know I can get any woman I want with this new face of mine. That was a couple of hours ago. Now I'm headed back to the basement pharmacy to get my prescription refilled. As I get off the bus, heads turn to follow me. I smile at my newfound power. I smile a lot lately. It's a nice change. Stepping down into the pharmacy, I glance around and see the most stunningly beautiful woman I've ever seen sitting in one of the two chairs. She's blonde, with the face of a supermodel. Our eyes meet as I move past, and I can feel her gaze on me as I walk up to the bald and impatient pharmacist. After I pay, he tells me,
5 minutes.
I thank him and move over to the two seats.
Mind if I sit?
I ask the woman. She beams up at me.
Not at all. You look familiar.
I tell her as I sit down.
Have we met? I was just thinking the same thing,
she says. Her blue eyes are brilliant, if a little hazy. It's the eyes that do it.
Sandra?
I say.
Yes,
She says, giggling.
and you're Jared, right? I've been waiting for you to call, but it looks like you've been busy getting some work done.
I smile.
Yeah, I have. You look fantastic,
She says.
So do you.
I tell her.
Have you had work done too?
She looks like a completely different person than when I saw her about a week ago.
No, not since we met.
I don't know how that's possible, but it's not important. She's gorgeous. I could stare at that face all day.
How would you like to get a drink with me right now?
I ask her.
I would love it.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.